So without further ado, I'll just, dive right in. I'm gonna start with actually a little bit background about me. I was born in Houston, Texas, and my family actually moved back to Bangladesh when I was 1 year old. So I grew up in Bangladesh. So I went to school there, I went to middle school there, and I want to tell y'all everything about me. So I'm gonna start from what I did from high school. So essentially, American, where I was in Bangladesh, they follow the English system. So you do your O levels and A levels. You do your O levels in 10th grade, and your A levels is your college. And then right after you're done your 12th grade, you can just go into law school, med school, whatever you want. So essentially, in order for them to prepare you for the 10th grade O levels high school exam, they start preparing you from 8th grade. So what I did was after I finished 7th grade, I was like, I don't want to take 3 years to get to my goal. I am gonna do this in 1 year. So what I did was I graduated 7th grade. I went to my mother and I was like, Mom, I know I can do this. Please let me do it. And she wouldn't. She was like, No, are you crazy? No way. But I convinced her and she let me, stop going to regular school. And she put me in this accelerated program. And I think I played myself very much by doing that because there's a reason why they take 8th, 9th, and 10th grade to prepare you for that exam. You cannot do that in 1 year with your 7th grade brain. It was very hard, but then I had a personal circumstance as well that I needed to come back to America. And when I needed to come back, move back to Houston, I didn't want to go to high school over here. So that is why I took that decision. So I graduated, I took my O levels, and then I moved to Houston. And when I moved to Houston, I was 16 years old, and that's when I was like, I had all my credits, and now I'm ready to start college. But what happened was after I moved here, I kind of moved here in March. So it was, end of like spring semester already started, and fall semester is about to start, but I still hadn't taken my SAT. So I'm like, oh, scrambling. Okay. So now we have to take our SATs. Boom, boom, boom. I took my SATs and then I started doing my research to say like, what's the best way to go? Because a little bit, well, full transparency, I am very poor. When it like I am very, very poor. So I have zero family contribution and, I have to make it. And my goals are huge, which is like medical school. And I do not have any financial backing. And it's hard, you have to figure out car, transportation, and your everyday, and then your tuition and everything. So I, was like brainstorming. I talked to a lot of people. And then like my older cousins at that time who had gone through college already or who were in college, but they weren't really that much of a help because, my journey is just so different than theirs. So I like put my head down and I enrolled to go to community college. So I went to Houston Community College. I started taking my prerequisites there. For my freshman year of college, I was in HCC. And then I started researching universities. And then I found my fairy godmom, Dr. Parker. And I found out about Scholars Academy at University of Houston downtown. And the thing is that it is so insane because I applied to a lot of schools along with University of Houston downtown. But I applied to U of H, I applied to Rice, I applied to UT Austin, I applied to A&M. And fortunately, I got into all of them, but I did not go to any of them just because of Scholars Academy at University of Houston downtown that Dr. Parker has. It was just, I was like, okay, this is great. Because once you get into college, as y'all know, because some of y'all are about to graduate or y'all are in junior, like, it's not just about keeping your head down and going to classes and coming. It's about doing so much more than that. Like you have to build up your resume every semester. You have to make sure your CV is going up, like your CV, your activities are going up, you know? And it's very hard to find such opportunities. So for our university to have such a department that just provides you the opportunity was insane to me. So, and then again, I am also, again, transparency, I am very lazy. Okay, so for me, it's like path of least resistance always. Okay, so when I had to transfer, you know, you have to apply to Scholars Academy, right? And then you guys remember I told you I was very poor, so I was always in a hunt for scholarships. So University of Houston downtown, actually, I don't know about y'all, but y'all can also spread this if you guys didn't know to your friends and whatever. There's a scholarship at University of Houston downtown that the admissions office provides to transfer students. It's called the LSAMP scholarship. So if you get that scholarship, it's an automatic entrance to Scholars Academy. Like you don't have to apply to get in. And I was literally pestering the person who was in charge of the scholarship. And I think that he got tired of me. So that's why he just gave it to me, because he was like, oh, don't email me anymore. I'm done. But I got that scholarship. And then right after I received that scholarship, I went and I met with Dr. Parker. And that's when I started my University of Houston downtown journey. And as y'all know, once you get into Scholars Academy, you have some specific requirement classes that you have to take. So I was in one of those classes for Dr. Parker for my first semester. And oh, I forget. Also, while I was transferring, I actually did not transfer in the fall. I transferred during the summer over another scholarship that Dr. Tyra Hessel, she's not with us anymore, she retired. So she was, as y'all know, the current HPAC advisor is Dr. Bowden. But before Dr. Bowden, it was Dr. Hessel. And she was the HPAC advisor, and she was also the JAMP advisor. So I don't know if you guys know what JAMP is. JAMP is Joint Admission Medical Program. So it's this really competitive program that every university in Texas has. So if you get into that program, it's an automatic acceptance into medical school right after your university. And they give you scholarships, they give you internship opportunities, and also after you're done with undergraduate, they also provide you scholarships while you're in medical school. So it's a tremendous, amazing opportunity. So you guys, please, like if you're in it, please look it up, or let other people know, spread the word, because it truly is an amazing opportunity. So I reached out to Dr. Hessel, and she asked for my SAT and just the due diligence that she needed to do. And then she invited me, actually at that time, Dr. Parker, you remember Doris and Ben?
Oh, yes.
Yes. So at that time, my seniors, they were a part of the JAMP, and they were having a meeting during the summer, and I was fortunate enough to get invited to that, and it was amazing. They feed you. Like they feed you every time, and they don't feed you just bad, they feed you good food. Okay, it's good food and you get free goodies. I got a backpack. I wasn't even in it. And she gave me a backpack, a pen, all this like goodies and good food again. And also then I got the scholarship and I started doing my research, late Dr. Kavi and Dr. Hessel. And my research when I was in University of Houston downtown, my research focused on anti-cancer properties of MCF7 breast cancer cells. So what we did is that it was a group of 5 of us that Dr. Kavi, we were in her team. And essentially we all each was assigned a plant because it is like we were kind of looking to find some alternate to chemotherapy in order to test it in vitro. So because everything is in vitro before it becomes in vivo, correct? So we were literally in the first stages, and I was fortunate enough to get in on that. And I started my research journey with Dr. Kavi and then Dr. Parker in order to motivate me and keep on continuing it even after my requirement. She actually provided me with a stipend so that I could continue my research and just throughout until I graduated. So I was very fortunate enough for that. Thank you so much. Or else I would have stopped doing it because it is a lot on your plate. And like I said, y'all, when I was in university, I was just doing a lot. Because my getting into medical school has been my childhood dream. I remember since I was like, my dad gave me, the game Operation. I was living in Bangladesh, and my dad like came to visit us, and he bought me the Operation game. And then since I had that when I was 6, I was like, oh, this is what I want to do, right? So so it has been my childhood dream, and honestly, if I want something, I must achieve it. That's just the type of person that I am. So I would also like give y'all one thing, like if y'all really want something, everyone says like have a plan A and then have a plan B, right? Of course, it is very important that you guys have safety padding as you continue your journey, because you just don't know what's gonna happen. And I'm about to tell y'all, right now y'all are like, oh, she's doing all this, okay. But then things blow up on my face, y'all. So, I was continuing, and then I got into JAM. I got accepted into the JAM program. And then I did, summer internships at Baylor College of Medicine for my sophomore year. And then in my junior year, I did my summer internship at Long School of Medicine in San Antonio through the JAM program. And then also while I was in university, Scholars Academy provides tutoring services, natural science tutors. So I was a natural science tutor for biology, chemistry, organic chemistry, biochemistry. And I was also working as a work study student at the SOC because, I needed to make money. As y'all know, I'm poor. What else? Okay, so I think those are all the extracurriculars that I was doing. I was the president of a student club. MSA, Muslim Student Association. So for 1.5 years, I was the president of MSA, and then it was too much for me, so I had to take step back. Because as you from sophomore year to junior to senior, your load just keeps on increasing, and the classes, keep on multiplying. It's a lot. So now, fast forward all this, we're in our junior year. Okay. Now it's time for our MCAT, to take our MCAT through the JAMP requirement program, so that right after I graduate, which would be 2019 spring, I would start medical school in the fall of 2019. So that's how the timeline goes. But after, when I was in San Antonio during the summer internship, which is essentially kind of a very big like MCAT workshop, because they prepare you to take the exam, because it's a beast of an exam. It's crazy. And I'll tell y'all about this beast. And it tried to slay me, but then at the end, I slayed it. And at that time, my mom got really sick. When I was at my internship during the summer, my mom had gotten really sick. And for me, like, my mom is my whole world. So at that time, I had to really make a very important decision. I was like, okay, I cannot do both at the same time. Like, I either have to take care of my mom or this, because both together, it's gonna be both. One thing is I like to put in 100% of my everything. If I know that, okay, I'm gonna only be able to put in 40%, I don't want to do it, because it's like I'm gonna be doing a disservice to myself and also to the people that are involved, right? So at that time, I made a decision that, okay, I need to take a step back, and I chose my mom. So JAMP did not work out. I quit. And then after I quit, as y'all can tell by now, I'm very ambitious and I'm very driven. So that, and I had a plan from like ATC. My plan was, okay, I'm going to transfer. I'm going to get into JAMP no matter what. It doesn't matter what university I go to, I'm going to get into JAMP. And I did it. And then, my plan that I just set everything, boom, 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 everything gone out the window. Okay. Now I'm like sitting, not even looking in the mirror. I'm just like sitting in my room, and I'm thinking that, okay, I am a junior in college now. I have 2 semesters left. JAMP is not going to work out. It's too late for me to start applying for next year. And I haven't even taken my MCAT yet. All right, we don't know anything what we're going to do. So I was like, okay, then, for a little while, it really it took a mental toll on me as well, at that time, like seeing my mom's condition and then, my professional career, I was kind of in a bad place. But Dr. Parker, again, was it, even though Dr. Parker doesn't know what she has done for me, she has done a lot for me because she kind of has always motivated me, and she has always been my pivoting point. Like, what I would say is that she has always given me the correct path, like the way. She has shown me the way. And then there's this one word that she uses a lot. It's grit. Okay. She uses the word grit a lot. And that you really need that. You really need that. So at that point, I needed a plan B, because JAM didn't work out. And right now, yes, I did research at my university. And then, I have some, internships in my under my belt. And, I have extracurriculars, but what separates me from all these people that are applying? Because, there are thousands and thousands of people that are applying, but there are only a few hundred seats. And with JAMP, I kind of guaranteed myself a seat, but now that guarantee is gone. So now I'm competing not only with Texas people, I'm competing with America, right? With the entirety of America. And it's crazy because getting into medical school, it's just getting harder and harder as each application cycle progresses. And honestly, it is because of pre-medical students that are just such overachievers, because every year they just set a higher standard for the next year applying cycle. Because, back in 2012 or whatever, nobody had 100 percentile at MCAT. But now if y'all go on Reddit and if you go on SDN, every 2% has a 100 percentile in the MCAT. So it's, us, because of people like us, we are just building, the stakes are just getting high every year, right? So now I'm sitting at the SLC. I told y'all that's the Natural Science Tutoring Center. I spent my entire college career inside that, honestly. So I honestly started applying to research jobs. I was like, okay, I know I'm gonna have to take a gap year. And within that gap year, I have to do something that is meaningful and that will give me padding and increase my CV. Or else, when I apply for medical school, they'll look at my application, they'll be like, oh, okay, what did you do in your gap year? Why should I even look at your application? So that August of 2018, I started applying to just every research position that I could find online, like Baylor College of Medicine, UT Health, Methodist, everything, everywhere, you guys. The last month, I actually looked back to kind of track how many jobs I applied to. I applied to 1,806 jobs. 1,806 jobs from August of 2018 to, I guess, spring of 2019, which was May, because it's crazy. Because y'all know networking is everything. At institutions like Baylor College of Medicine or Texas Children's Hospital, Methodist, yes, the job postings are there, but I'm giving you transparency, y'all. Like, I want the seminar to be helpful to y'all. So those postings are just kind of, okay, yes, we have to make a posting, but then they have internal people in their department who recommend their own people. They're like, oh, hey, for that job opened up, hey, take this person, take that person. So it is very hard for an outside person to kind of get in their foot, because that's just how it works. And it's all about networking. And I knew that. So I was like, okay, I have to apply because I don't know anybody. Because, you know, I sheltered myself through the JAMP shelter. So I kind of didn't need to, you know, network and go out of my way. But now I'm in the same boat as other people, and I'm worse off because I don't have my network, you know? So I was like, okay, you know what? Let's just do it. Whatever happens, whatever happens. Thank you, An. So, you know, May of 2019, you know, I get, actually, I got my last rejection from that application cycle job that I did last year. Like, I still am getting rejection. I still, like, I applied in 2018, you know? And what's the worst part is that they don't tell you no. They just say nothing, you know? And silence is the worst. Like, I would rather be told no than silence, right? So silence from everywhere, you know? Silence from everywhere. And I was like, okay, this applying thing is not working. So I need to do some maneuvering and whatnot. So what I did was that I somehow got the phone number of the BCM HR manager. I don't know how I did it, but I did it. And I called her, and then she was like, oh, like, at first she was actually surprised that she was like, inquiring to her about a job. And I was like, yes, it's me. I apologize. You don't know me, but I found your phone number. And then she was like, oh yeah, the department will contact you, you know, but the department never contacted me. And then May 2019, you know, this is when I graduate. And then I was just telling Dr. Parker that I was not in a good mental state at all. So you guys, I graduated summa cum laude, right? I had all these things. I could have gotten the ribbons, but I didn't walk. Like, I didn't go to my graduation. I didn't even pick up my little ribbons or anything. I took my last exam, and then I just never I took my last exam, and then I walked out of University of Houston downtown, and that was it. You know, all my friends walked, you know, they had a thing, whatever, but I was just not in a good mental state at all in order to celebrate my graduation. You know, kind of what my graduation like signified to me was that, oh wow, like now I don't have the hand holding of a university behind me. You know, I don't have the hand holding of Dr. Parker behind me. This is me, like, in the real world, and I need to figure this out by myself, or else, you know, I'm gonna drown. So, you know, I still was applying in May, and at that time, you guys, I had to make money because I was poor, like I told you, like, so, you know, I started applying to like kind of jobs, like other jobs, in order to make money. But then May 2019 was when I graduated. The first week of June was when I got this email from this MD PhD doctor at Baylor College of Medicine and Texas Children's Hospital. And her name is Dr. Alexandra Stevens. And she is a very amazing pediatric heme-onc research and doctor. And she emailed me saying that, oh, the HR forwarded me your resume, and you know, I liked what I saw. Do you want a phone interview? You know, and I was in the middle of the HEB grocery store. I remember I was grocery shopping, and she emailed me, and then I emailed her right back, and Dr. Stevens, same energy as Dr. Parker. They are on it, you know, they're like boom, 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 done. You know, whatever they have a task, they just want to get it over with and then on to the next one, right? So she was like, okay, it seems like she wanted to interview and hire or whatever, reject me all in one day, right? So she was like, oh, are you free for a phone interview right now? Like, she emailed me. Now I'm freaking out in the middle of an HEB grocery store. I sprint to my car, right? And then I literally sit in my car, and then she calls me. So we had a phone interview. So essentially she was asking me that, hey, are you afraid of mice? And I was like, and you guys, I'm terrified of rodents. Okay, I am absolutely terrified of rodents. But I was like, no, mice, I love them. Okay, they are my favorite animals. I love them so much. No, I'm not scared of them at all. No, absolutely not. Right? So she's like, okay, perfect, because her research focuses, like her research, I'll tell y'all more about that in a little bit. But essentially the phone interview was kind of a screening of like, oh, do you have the caliber to handle our work, right? And I presented myself in a way that yes, of course I do. So then she called me in for in-person interview the following week. So it was through Baylor College of Medicine, but her lab was at Texas Children's Hospital. Because she's in the pediatric heme-onc leukemia department. So, I went in for my interview, and there were 6 candidates as well interviewing for that position. Because, you guys will know, like after you graduate, like you're always going to be competing with someone else or multiple people for the same position, So it always, honestly, you guys, what really will defer you from what I have noticed from my professional journey is your mannerism and how you carry yourself and how you interact with people. Because what had happened was that the people that I was against for this position, like one of them were from Rice, okay? The other one was from UT Austin. The one was from Yale, okay? And then the other one, I don't remember, but I was like, okay, these are all very good universities and also an Ivy League in the mix. Cool. But honestly, after, like I got accepted and I had asked my boss, essentially Dr. Stevens, and the person who interviewed me, kind of like my mentor, she was one up above me. Like I was research assistant 2 and she was research assistant 3. So she was above me. They said that, yeah, it kind of went down to like we liked you, we liked your positivity and how you carried yourself. And the biggest thing also, it was so bizarre to me that the assistant mentioned that to me, because like when you guys will understand, like when you go to these high positions, like the high people don't have the time to scrutinize candidates, so they leave it up to their people to scrutinize the candidate. So it essentially is up to that research assistant 3 to pick who she wants as a coworker, right? So basically what the research assistant had told her was like, oh, she was the only one that could keep up with my pace because she was running around and she had a lot to do. So essentially the other people were just, walking really behind her, and she had to slow down her pace and look back and talk to them. But with me, but I was like walking with her eyes. She didn't have to slow down or look back. It was crazy to me, right? So just a rule of thumb, y'all, please, yeah. So then, I started my job at the leukemia department of Baylor College of Medicine. And now I'm going to tell y'all a little bit more about my research of what I did while I was there. I worked at the pediatric heme-onc department at Texas Children's Hospital for around 1 year and 7 months. It was right after I graduated university, and then it was 1 year and 7 months. And our research focused on acute myeloid leukemia, and it's a pediatric acute myeloid leukemia. So just to give you guys a little bit background of the myeloid leukemia, it's a very aggressive cancer, and especially in children, it's genetic. So it's such an aggressive cancer, and there's not a lot of research that's out there in order for it to kind of even handle the aggressiveness. Because, right now our cancer treatment is essentially chemotherapy is like the number 1 runner. But because pediatric acute myeloid leukemia is so aggressive, like the children who go through the chemotherapy, they cannot even sustain like normal life because the chemotherapy beats them down so much. And what's the worst thing about it is that once you know that your patients stop coming, there's only one reason why your patients stop coming. It's because there's only one reason they're gonna stop coming to you. So when I got this opportunity, I was actually really grateful because it was kind of some groundbreaking thing that I was doing. And I got the opportunity to advance the medical that have in place that we have right now in order to treat the AML. So my lab focused on, and while I was in that lab, I'm going to give you a little bit more. So it was kind of the leukemia department. So mine was acute myeloid leukemia, but that department also has acute lymphoblastic leukemia, ALL, all these other leukemias that are together, and they have different labs, different principal investigators, but they're all concentrated in one place. So while I was working for my doctor, for my PI, other PIs also saw what I did because, to give you a little background about the mice, I was forgetting. The mice work was essential. What I did was that I got hired in June, and then they gave me an experiment. I got hired in June 20th. I started my job at June 20th. July 1st, they gave me an experiment. They were like, okay, here, this is your experiment. This is how much money that you have. This is what you need to do. And we are drafting up this paper. This is the data that we need before submission, go. And now I'm freaking out because I do not know anything that just came out of her mouth, right? So it was it was crazy because what I had to do was that we were actually running a clinical trial as well in conjunction with the research that we were doing. So it was kind of essential because it was amazing because I and my coworker, we were carrying out the in vitro portion while my Dr. Alexander Stevens and the I apologize, Dr. Michelle Riddell and Dr. Alexander Stevens, they were doing the in vivo portion and running a clinical trial. So what our research focused on was a common drug called atovaquone. It's a very common drug that right now is only used for pneumonia. So what Dr. Alexander Stevens had done, her dissertation was that she looked at atovaquone and then she figured out that, okay, the atovaquone has anti-cancer properties. And if you incorporate that in conjunction with existing chemotherapy to the upfront existing acute myeloid leukemia therapy that we have right now, the survival rate as well as the tolerance of chemotherapy in children increases tremendously. So that is what our research focused on. So essentially, the mice and the experiment that I was telling y'all about, what I had to do was that I had to basically give these mice leukemia. So what I had to do was that I had to inject these mice with real patient samples, which Dr. Alexander Stevens, gets from her patients from the clinical trial. And then they consent to her that, hey, you can use my blood sample or bone marrow sample for your research. I consent to it. So, she does all the consent and whatever, and then she gives me the bone marrow or the peripheral blood that she wants me to use. And essentially I gave the mice leukemia. And now it's time for me to treat these mice leukemia and to see, okay, there's atovaquone. How do these mice gonna do it, right? So, just how every experiment, you need a control setting and you need experiment setting, right? And oh my goodness, I think because that I was so adamant at getting to my goal and achieving what I had set out to since I was a kid, I just had to keep on going because these mice were crazy. Okay, they would bite me, they would jump out of the cage, they would jump on me. Oh my goodness. And what's the word? And the thing is that these are sterile mice, so you have to handle them very carefully. And one of the really cool things about our lab was that Dr. Alexander Stevens is such an amazing person. Like I said, Dr. Parker and Dr. Alexander Stevens, their energy is similar. She had got these immunodeficient mice that have IL-6. Like, these are the most humanized mice that are out there, and they're called the Mr. G and the Mr. G6. So only Harvard has them. I don't know how, but Harvard has them and we have them. So it's Dr. Alexander Stevens' lab, and then it's somebody from the Harvard lab that we only have these mice. And it's integral to kind of research going forward, because a lot of the mice that people do research on are just the regular mice, and these are kind of like the next innovation that's waiting. So as I mentioned, you guys, I was also fortunate enough to be a part of this clinical trial as well. And this clinical trial had three sites. It was Texas Children's in our medical center, it was Boston Children's Hospital, and then it was the Seattle Hospital, Pediatric Seattle Hospital in Seattle. So we were getting, but because we are the largest medical center in the country, of course, we were getting the most participants. And the Boston and the Seattle, they weren't getting as much. And the clinical trial was set up for 22 participants. And when I joined their team, they already had 13 participants already. And then when I was getting ready to leave the lab, we had concluded the study. So essentially, while I was in the lab, I was working 70 hours a week. Okay. She would call me at 6 a.m. She would call me in at 9 p.m. Okay. It was just insanity. She would call me in on the weekend that, oh, this one mouse is dying. You need to go get the sample. And I was like, okay, yes, I do need to get the sample. Else we're going to lose it forever. So it was not an easy ship to steer at all. And when I mentioned to y'all before that it was a concentration of labs, I was also working with other labs as well, like the ALL, acute lymphoblastic leukemia, and other PIs as well on their projects, because they liked my mice work so much, because I learned how to do it kind of really fast. So I kind of became like the integral person that these people would come to for mice injections and mice surgeries, essentially. So yes, Dr. Parker, you remember how you were like, oh, how did you get so many of these publications? Mm-hmm. It is because I got good at the mice work, and then all these labs were just kind of taking me, and they were like, oh, we're going to give you an author. And I was like, yes, I can do anything for you. Just put me as an author, She was like, yes, you'll be a second author. And I was like, yes, I'll take it, So, if you guys want to look it up, you can look up Raushan Rashid leukemia, and then you'll see like the publications that I have. So I was very fortunate enough to do that, and then last year I was like, okay, also the MCAT, there you go, very big thing. The MCAT, I took it 5 times. I took the MCAT 5 times. Okay, it is a beast of an exam. It is something like that I have never experienced before. It slayed me. It slayed me the first 4 times. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was like, okay, either I keep on going or I let this beast of an MCAT be like, oh, okay, yeah, I got defeated by this exam. And the type of person that I am, I'm just like, no, So the first time didn't work out. Second time. And the thing is that, you guys, it wasn't even that, oh, I was failing, like, oh, just a little bit. I was 70th percentile. No, you guys, I got 40th percentile. Okay. On one of the MCATs, I got 40th percentile. That was my first MCAT that I took. And it was like, oh my God. And they have this record for life. But I couldn't undo my exam scores. I can't go back and be like, oh, void my scores. Those are there for life. Now I have this. What can I do about it? Right? So either, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do it anymore. It's too hard or whatever. Or you revise your plan and then do it again. So the studying plan or the action plan that you had before, it didn't work. So you need to revise it. And it took me 4 times. I revised my study plan and my action plan 4 times. And then the last time it worked out. So you guys, it definitely was not easy, right? And I was taking the MCAT also while I was working 70 hours a week or 60 hours a week. But I had a goal. I had a childhood dream that I wanted to achieve. I worked so hard, like, coming here and then going to university, Scholars Academy and all this. I wasn't just gonna not do it when it was, when it's so close that I could taste it. Like when it's so close that I could taste it, like I don't want to go back and be like, oh, okay, you know what? Let me explore my plan B. So essentially that's what I was saying. I don't know if I remember, I was saying, the concept of having plan A and the concept of having plan B. Of course, you need to have safety measures in point, but you need to tell yourself that how badly do you want plan A? Like how badly do you want plan A, to the point, because if you settle for plan B, you're not gonna be kind of happy for the rest of your life. And that's what I knew. Like I knew that if I were to be in any other career force, I wouldn't be happy, because being in the hospital, doing research, seeing patients, or advancing medical future, that is, I feel alive doing these things. And life is too short to be unhappy, in my opinion. Like our life is too short in order for us to be miserable. So like for y'all, like honestly, it's all about like positivity, because I have gone through, like I told you, like I've gone through a bunch of my own stuff, my family, and then my financials, and I like all these things could have made me really negative. Like it's very easy to be super negative, because I mean, you just get beat down like every time, and it's just like, oh, how much more can a person take, right? But at the end of the day, I don't have battery. It's not charging. Give me one moment.
Okay.
One moment.
So you all get your questions ready, as she's going to be finishing up and opening it up for questions. Let her get her computer plugged in. Don't you hate technology? Okay, now we don't hear you. Oh, there you go.
My computer was going to die on me. We're good. I thought it was charging, but I think my outlet isn't working, but whatever. But essentially, I wanted to conclude my little journey by saying that you guys always, life is always gonna give you so much of the cannonballs. Okay, it's gonna give you cannonballs, and it's gonna take you out in a way that you probably would not even anticipate. Because I didn't anticipate, like Dr. Parker said, a straight A student, because I was winning kind of all the time. So for me to get, take the MCAT 5 times, actually, it was an L. I took an L. But you gotta keep going, y'all. You gotta keep going. And then I kept going, and then I made it. So yeah, thank you for listening to me. I appreciate y'all.
Wonderful, wonderful. Let me change the view real quick so we can get everybody there. Okay. Well, I have a question. So I'll let others come in off of this, but so all your publications, what impact do you think that really, and the MCAT score, but do you think that really helped you?
Yes. So what I would say is that, you guys remember I told y'all that, okay, now I'm competing with all of America. What sets me apart from all these accomplished pre-meds? Because we know how pre-meds are. Everyone has the same energy. They're always working at it. And, and some of these people come from very prestigious schools like Ivy Leagues. So what sets me apart? So honestly, what I really think came down was that my personal statement and my publications, for sure. Because even in the 5th time when I took my MCAT, I didn't do like 100 percentile. It wasn't a super amazing high score that, oh, okay, yay, like look at your MCAT, because my GPA is very high. I graduated summa cum laude. Right. So I graduated summa cum laude, and those are the two things, kind of the first screening. But what else have you done? And I honestly think, Dr. Parker, that it was my multiple publications that set me apart.
I imagine. And work experience, they know the level of, I'm sure from your letters of reference, they know the level of work you can put out, which is necessary for med school. Okay, who else has a question? Joel or anybody? Jeane? Okay,
Hello.
Jeane's got one. We'll let her go first.
I really enjoyed your story of medical school. I'm a non-traditional pre-med student who's also been through some things. And one of my questions is, I'm in the process in the summer, I'm going to start studying for MCAT, but what was that change of studying that made you do better in the MCAT?
Okay, so essentially, let me give you some concrete things that I did. Get the Kaplan books, okay? Get the Kaplan books, but don't join any of these courses like Princeton, Kaplan, these $2,000, $3,000 courses. You don't need them, okay? You don't need them because what really MCAT comes down to is that you need to understand the way these AMC people are making the questions, okay? If you understand like what they're asking, because there's the same people have been making the questions from like ages ago, and it's still the same people. So all of the practice exams and everything that you have, they're the same people that are making it. So what really came down, what I was doing wrong for the first thing was I was trying to learn everything for the MCAT. Because MCAT, it's so huge, it's so broad. You have biology, chemistry, psychology, everything in there. And I was trying to learn everything. But that is not the way to go. Like you just need to, because you will never learn everything that they're gonna ask. You just have to make sure that you answer enough right answers in order for you to get to that, because it also is graded on a curve. So what I would tell you is that do the Kaplan books, right? Get your content really strong, because without the content, you're not gonna be able to do it. Get the UWorld questions, okay? Get the UWorld questions, the practice questions. So after you get your content strong, which is gonna probably take you a month or 2 months maximum, okay, depending on how long you're studying or whatnot, then start doing the UWorld questions. UWorld practice questions, because at the end, my fourth and my fifth time was when I incorporated UWorld into my prep, and you would see on Reddit or SDN, if you go on there, they say that UWorld is like gold, and it is. And it is gold because UWorld questions mimic AMC questions the most. So, and if you can do UWorld, like UWorld is harder than AMC as well. So if you're doing good in UWorld, you'll automatically do good in the AMC. So I just did a lot of practice questions for the UWorld. Okay, I took very practice, like you have to take practice exams as well. You have to take practice exams by by how like the real MCAT is, like 7 hours, no breaks or no pauses, only take the designated breaks, because it's a 7-hour exam. And you have to make your brain literally at 100% that what it was the first minute to what it was the last minute, right? Because you need your brain to work like that for the whole entirety of 7 hours. So building up stamina is what is very essential. So build up the stamina, do the UWorld questions, do a lot of practice exams. I took 15, okay? Take a lot of practice exams. And then I think you should be good.
All right, thank you. Anybody else?
Thank you.
That was pretty inspiring. Thank you for sharing it with us. I wanted to ask, what do you want to do like after medical school? What type of doctor do you want to be?
Oh, honestly, I have no idea. Like I'm the type of person, I need to get my hands dirty with everything, and things need to speak to me. Like I need to go into something, and if my eyes light up, or if I'm like, oh, I feel so alive here, then if that feeling comes to me, then that's what I'm gonna do. But I don't have any premeditated specialty now.
Okay, it's because you also mentioned about like pediatric leukemia, so I was like wondering, oh, are you interested in pediatrics?
I think I can tell you this for sure. I'm not going into pediatric leukemia. It is so sad. Yeah. It is so sad. Like I lost 4 patients while I was there, and I had to work with their samples after they were gone. I don't think I'll be able to handle that anymore. Yeah. It was pretty intense.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
Good question. Anybody else?
Hi, I just wanted to say you're an amazing storyteller. I really enjoyed hearing that. I was wondering if we would be able to get your email or some sort of contact info.
Of course. Let me put this in the chat right now.
Okay, that would be amazing. Thank you.
Yes, you guys. I was in your shoes, a fellow Scholars Academy, please feel free to email me anytime. Like I'll be more than happy to answer your questions.
Great. Thank you, Raushan. Anybody else? Here's the chance. Now, Raushan, tell them, I don't know that I mentioned it. Tell them what med school you're going to again.
Oh, I am going to the Paul Foster School of Medicine in El Paso.
Okay, great, great. Well, you know, we have Boryani Taichan. She's there.
Oh my gosh, Dr. Parker, I was gonna tell you this right now. It was crazy because I did not know that she is there. And she's the class president of her class. So
I don't doubt it.
She's year one, she's MS1. And I'm really scrambling to find a place. So I like emailed kind of like the school's student board, and she had emailed me back, and I was like, no, it's you.
And you know her. That's great.
I know. We did research together with Dr. Kavi.
Good. And then we have Idris.
Oh, I think Andrea asked a question in the
Akin Laptis or something. I forget his last name, but anyway, he's over there as well. But yes, there's a question. Let's see. Andrea, what's your question?
Oh, my anxiety. I honestly think that the biggest thing that helped me even go through the arduous journey of my time was literally my friends and my coworker. You need good friends in your life, y'all. Like, you need to make sure that you just don't have friends that you keep just for social, just for like, oh, going out or partying. You need real friends that can handle your emotions, or when you need to talk to somebody, they will be on the phone with you for 3 or 4 hours if need be. Okay. Or like, just FaceTime them and just be in silence because you need someone's company there. Honestly, the biggest thing, because while I was even going through the patient, I was also dealing with my own personal issues as well. So the biggest thing was my support system. My friends. It definitely was my friends.
Great. Okay. Anyone else?
I actually have another question.
Go ahead.
So I was wondering, you seem to have dealt with a lot and you're very resilient, but how did COVID impact you? Like, how are you able to get through that? Because I know that a lot of pre-med students are struggling to find good clinical experiences and opportunities because of COVID.
Yes, honestly, I have like a lot of people have been on Reddit and stuff, and a lot of people have been doing that. So the world has changed, you guys, from when I was, an undergraduate, and I even tell y'all, like, I was also volunteering when I was in school. Like, I used to volunteer with Methodist. I was a hospital volunteer there, so that was my clinical experience. But now, because of COVID and of the pandemic, like, it's very hard to, get these volunteering opportunities and whatnot because they're not offering as much. But what is going on, and I'm looking at the pre-med, and by talking to them and being already, is that there are paid experiences. It's CNA. There you go. You can explore a lot of paid opportunities that are clinical, but it's not free. Like, you're also getting paid to do it, like medical assistant. Okay, if you could get a medical assistant opportunity or a CNA opportunity for SEN, and you could also look for hospitals or clinics that will train you for that. For a majority of the people, they say that yes, you would need the certification, but then there are also offices, because I worked as a medical assistant briefly this year for a GI doctor at the HCA Cypress, and I didn't have a medical assistant certificate or anything, but she was like, yeah, I can train you and you can take the certificate from here. So what I would suggest is that instead of for clinical opportunities, you guys should explore like the medical assistant route, the CNA route. That'll be your best bet for now, for COVID.
Thank you.
Good advice. Okay, let's see. Alina says, I know somebody has a question. Alina says, I don't have a question, but thank you for sharing your journey. Very inspiring. Oh, that's very nice.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Anyone else have a question? We have like 1 minute left. Well, I'll give you 30 seconds worth of wait time, but Well, let's give Raushan just a hearty thank you and sending her best wishes on her new journey.
Thank you so much.
Wonderful.
So
And keep in touch.
Of course, Dr. Parker.
Really,
You
really
are
nice.
stuck with me for life. You're stuck
Love
with
it.
me for life.
Love it. All right. Well, thank you so
Bye.
much. Now I will get the recording. I won't fix it up, but somebody, the webmaster will fix it up and then we'll show it to you and you give us approval if you feel it's okay so that we can put it on our essay YouTube.
Perfect. Yes. Oh my God.
Okay. Good. All right. Thanks so much.
For being here. You
All
guys have
right.
a wonderful spring break and take care.
Take care. You too. All right. Oh, that was wonderful.
Have a nice day, Dr. Parker. Thank
And
you.
you too, Tahj. Thank you.